I never thought the walls of my own home would feel like a stranger's house. But lately, every room seemed to echo with a silence that wasn't comforting, but heavy, like it was hiding something I wasn't meant to hear. My name is Emily, and for years I believed I had built the kind of life people envied. A loving husband, Daniel, who worked hard to provide for us, and a teenage daughter, Lily, whose laughter filled our evenings with light. But somewhere in the last year, that laughter had faded. Daniel started working later than usual, often coming home with excuses that sounded rehearsed. Lily became distant, spending more time locked in her room with her phone, the glow from the screen seeping out from beneath the door long past midnight. I told myself it was just the stress of life, that families go through rough patches. But my gut whispered otherwise. One night, after Daniel fell asleep on the couch, his phone buzzed. I had never been the type to snoop. I valued trust more than anything. But something inside me told me to pick it up. The screen lit up with a name I didn't recognize. Anna. My chest tightened. The message was short, almost casual, but it carried a weight that made my hands tremble. Can't wait to see you again tomorrow. Same place. I stared at it for a long time, my mind trying to convince me it was work-related, that I was overthinking. But deep down, I knew better. That wasn't the kind of message you sent a coworker. Sleep was impossible after that. I lay awake, listening to Daniel's steady breathing, wondering if the man I had shared my life with for 15 years was really the same man lying beside me. The ceiling felt like it was pressing down on me, and I knew I couldn't ignore it anymore. The next day, I watched Daniel more closely. His smile seemed too forced, his words too careful. Every time his phone buzzed, he angled the screen away from me. I felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, one step away from a truth that would change everything. And then, something happened that I never expected, something that made me realize Anna wasn't the only secret in my house. The next morning, the house felt colder than usual. Maybe it was just me, but even the way Daniel buttered his toast seemed wrong, robotic, almost rehearsed. He kissed my cheek before leaving for work, and for the first time, I noticed how hollow that kiss felt. It wasn't love, it was habit. As soon as the door closed, I sat at the table, staring at my coffee until it went cold. My mind replayed that message over and over. Anna. Who was she? A coworker? A stranger? Someone he'd just met? Or someone he had known all along? Every possibility felt like a knife turning in my stomach. I told myself I'd confront him directly. Honesty had always been our rule. But when the moment came the night before, with his phone buzzing in my hand, I froze. I had chosen silence. And now, silence was eating me alive. Lily came down the stairs, earbuds in, her face pale from staying up too late again. She muttered a quick morning, and went straight to the fridge. I studied her, wondering if she noticed the cracks too, if she felt the shift in the house the way I did. But teenagers rarely say what they're thinking, and mine had grown especially guarded. You're up late at night again, I said, trying to sound casual. What's keeping you awake? She shrugged without looking at me. Homework. TikTok. Nothing important. Her voice was flat, practiced, the way Daniel's had become. That's when I realized the silence wasn't just between me and my husband. It was growing between me and my daughter too. That day I couldn't sit still. I cleaned the kitchen twice, folded laundry that didn't need folding, even rearranged the living room furniture like moving the couch would also move the ache in my chest. By the afternoon, I gave up pretending. I needed answers. When Daniel's phone buzzed on the counter, my heart jumped into my throat. He had forgotten it on his lunch break. My hands shook as I picked it up, half hoping it would be work emails, half terrified it wouldn't. The screen was locked, but the notifications weren't hidden. Another message from Anna. Thinking about you. Tonight. I nearly dropped the phone. My legs felt weak, like the floor had tilted beneath me. Tonight. Tonight meant it wasn't in the past. It wasn't over. It was happening now. I should have thrown the phone across the room. I should have screamed, cried, anything. But instead, I slipped it into my pocket and sat there, staring at the wall until I heard Lily's footsteps upstairs. I couldn't tell her. Not yet. How could I explain to my daughter that the man she adored might be tearing our family apart? When Daniel came home, he acted too normal. He asked about dinner, kissed the top of Lily's head, made small talk about his day. But I saw it now, the way his eyes darted toward his pocket, realizing his phone wasn't there. "You left it here," I said, pulling it from the counter where I had placed it after school. His face paled for half a second before he forced a smile. "Thanks, Em. Must have slipped my mind." I nodded, pretending not to notice, but my heart was pounding so hard I thought he might hear it. After dinner, when he announced he had to run out to the store, something inside me snapped. I grabbed my keys. "I'll come with you." His jaw tightened. "It's just quick. Don't worry about it." "I could use some air," I pressed, watching his eyes flicker nervously. We drove in silence, the air between us thick and heavy. He pulled into a grocery store lot, grabbed a bag of milk and bread, and tried to act casual. But I knew he was lying. He wasn't meeting Anna at a grocery store. This was just a cover. When we got home, I followed him with my eyes as he retreated to the garage under the excuse of checking the car. I stayed by the window, watching him pull out his phone, pacing back and forth, typing furiously. That's when I saw Lily at the top of the stairs, watching me. Her eyes were wide, her expression wary. "Go back to bed, sweetheart," I whispered, trying to sound steady. But she didn't move. Instead, she crossed her arms. "Why are you spying on Dad?" Her tone wasn't angry, it was sharp, defensive. Like she already knew more than she was letting on. "Because..." My throat went dry. "Because I think he's hiding something from me." Her eyes flickered, just for a second, and that flicker told me everything. She knew. She had known. "Lily," I said slowly, stepping toward her. Do you know who Anna is?" The silence between us stretched, so long I thought she wouldn't answer. Finally, she whispered, "Don't ask me, Mom." Her words were a knife to the chest. "Why not?" "Because it'll ruin everything." Her voice cracked, and for the first time in months, she looked like my little girl again. "Just don't." I wanted to grab her shoulders, shake the truth out of her, but I couldn't. She was trembling, tears forming in her eyes, and I realized this wasn't just between me and Daniel anymore. Whatever he was hiding, Lily was tangled in it too. That night, I lay awake listening to Daniel snore beside me, my mind spinning. If Lily knew, if she was protecting him, then this betrayal was bigger than I imagined. It wasn't just a husband sneaking off with another woman. It was a father involving his daughter in a secret that could destroy us all. The next morning, I decided I couldn't live in the dark any longer. When Daniel left for work, I turned to Lily. "We need to talk. And I need the truth." She froze, eyes darting to the floor. Her hands twisted the hem of her sweatshirt. "Mom, please." "No, Lily. Not this time. I saw the messages. I know about Anna. But I need to know what you know. I need to know why you're protecting him." Tears spilled over her cheeks. She sank onto the couch, curling into herself. "Because if you find out, you'll hate him. And if you hate him, then we'll all fall apart." Her words shattered me. My daughter wasn't just aware, she was carrying the weight of a secret, protecting him from me. Protecting him instead of me. I sat down beside her, wrapping my arms around her trembling frame. "Sweetheart, listen to me. If your dad is doing something wrong, that's on him, not you. You don't have to protect him. You don't have to carry this alone." She sobbed into my chest, her voice muffled. "You don't understand. Anna isn't just some woman. She's someone I know. Someone I... Her words broke off, swallowed by her tears. My blood turned to ice. Anna wasn't just Daniel's secret. She was Lily's too. And in that moment, I realized the betrayal wasn't just a crack in my marriage, it was a fracture running straight through my family. I couldn't breathe after Lily's words. My arms were still wrapped around her trembling body, but my mind had already spiraled into 1,000 terrifying directions. Who was Anna really? And how was my daughter connected to her? When Lily finally pulled back, her eyes were swollen, her cheeks streaked with tears. She wouldn't look at me. "Lily," I whispered, my voice barely steady. "You have to tell me. Who is Anna?" She shook her head violently. "I can't. You'll hate me. You'll hate him. Everything will be ruined." Her words cut deeper than she realized. Did she really think I could hate her? No, what I hated was the silence, the feeling of being locked out of my own family's truth. "Listen to me," I said, gripping her hands firmly. "I will never hate you. Never. Whatever this is, we'll face it together. But I can't fight what I don't understand." Her lips parted as if to speak, but then she bit them shut, burying her face in her hoodie. I wanted to push, but she was fragile, like glass that would shatter if I pressed too hard. The rest of the day passed in a haze. Daniel came home late again, his excuse another meeting, another late-night errand. I pretended to believe him, setting dinner on the table, smiling when I needed to, but inside I was hollow. Lily avoided both of us, retreating to her room, the sound of her muffled crying echoing through the walls. That night, after Daniel fell asleep, I couldn't hold back anymore. I crept downstairs, unlocked his phone with the passcode I had seen him use 100 times, and opened his messages with Anna. They weren't romantic. At least, not in the obvious way. No, I love you. No hearts, no late-night flirting. Instead, they were filled with logistical details. Same cafe tomorrow at 5. Don't forget to bring her notebook. We have to be careful. Her notebook. Her. My blood ran cold. Whoever Anna was, she wasn't just Daniel's secret, she was Lily's too. The next morning, I decided I couldn't wait any longer. After Daniel left for work, I followed him. My hands gripped the steering wheel, so tightly they ached. But I kept my eyes on his car as it wound through the city until he pulled into a quiet cafe I'd never seen before. He parked, got out, and walked inside. My heart hammered as I waited, hands clammy on the steering wheel. Minutes later, the door opened again and there she was. Anna. She wasn't glamorous, not the way I'd pictured. She was young, too young. Early 20s, maybe. Her hair was dark, her clothes simple. She looked ordinary. Ordinary, except for the way Daniel's eyes softened when he saw her. They sat at a corner table, speaking in low voices. At one point, Anna pulled a notebook from her bag, sliding it across to Daniel. My throat tightened. I wanted to storm in, to demand answers, but I couldn't move. My body was frozen, my brain screaming at me that something was horribly wrong. And then, as if the universe wanted to confirm my worst fears, my phone buzzed with a message from Lily. Mom, please don't be mad at Dad. If you find out the truth, promise you won't hate me too. My breath hitched. I glanced back at the cafe window, watching Daniel flip open the notebook, his expression grim. Anna leaned forward, whispering something urgent, her eyes darting nervously toward the door. I realized then that this wasn't just an affair. This was bigger, darker. Something tangled deep between Daniel, Anna, and Lily that I had been blind to. I drove home in silence, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might break my ribs. By the time I pulled into the driveway, Lily was waiting on the porch, her face pale, her hands clenched in fists. She didn't even let me ask. You followed him, didn't you? She whispered. I nodded, my voice caught in my throat, her eyes filled with tears. Then you know, Anna. I shook my head. No, Lily. I don't know anything. That's the problem. Tell me. Please. She stared at me for a long time, her lip trembling. Finally, she whispered 3 words that changed everything. She's my sister. The world tilted. My knees gave out, and I sank onto the porch steps. What are you talking about? Lily sat beside me, shaking so hard I thought she might break apart. Dad never told you. He never wanted you to know. Anna, she's his daughter. From before you. From someone else. My stomach lurched, ball rising in my throat. All this time, the secrecy, the late nights, the notebook. It wasn't an affair. It was another life, another family, and somehow my daughter had known before me. I couldn't feel my legs. The porch beneath me might as well have been made of air. My daughter's words echoed in my head, each one heavier than the last. She's my sister. I turned to Lily, my voice breaking. How long have you known? Her eyes dropped to her lap. A few months. I found out by accident. I saw texts on Dad's phone. At first I thought it was what you thought, an affair. I was ready to hate him. But then I saw her. I met her. Her voice cracked, and she hugged her knees to her chest. She looks like me, Mom. Same eyes, same smile. I knew right away. Tears blurred my vision. My daughter had been carrying the secret, protecting her father, and letting me live in the dark. Why didn't you tell me? I whispered. Because you'd leave, she said quickly, panic flashing in her eyes. You'd hate him, and I thought maybe if I kept it quiet, it would just go away. But it didn't. It's getting worse. Worse. That word sent a chill down my spine. What do you mean worse? Lily shook her head. Anna's in trouble. That's why Dad keeps seeing her. She needs him. My heart twisted, torn between rage and fear. Another child. Another life. And he hadn't told me. My husband of 15 years had lied to me every day, while our daughter bore the weight of a secret. That night, I didn't wait for Daniel to fall asleep. I sat at the kitchen table, the clock ticking loudly in the silence, until I heard his keys at the door. He froze when he saw me, his face pale. Emily, you're up late. Sit down, I said, my voice sharper than I intended. He hesitated, then dropped his jacket on the chair and sat across from me. I looked at him, the man I thought I knew, the man I had built a life with, and for the first time, I didn't recognize him. I know about Anna, I said. His body went rigid. For a second, I thought he'd deny it, spin another story. But then his shoulders slumped, and he buried his face in his hands. I wanted to tell you, he muttered. I didn't know how. How long? My voice was ice. Before you, he said quietly. Before we met. I was young, reckless. Her mother didn't want me involved. I thought it was over, that I'd never see her again. And then she showed up. She found me. She needed help. The words rattled in my skull. 15 years. 15 years, he had kept this from me. You lied to me every single day, I said, my hands trembling. You let me believe you were working late, that nothing was wrong, while you were living another life behind my back. It wasn't like that, he pleaded, leaning forward. It's not an affair. I wasn't cheating on you, Emily. I swear. I was trying to do the right thing. She's my daughter. What was I supposed to do? Turn her away? She's my sister, I whispered, the words choking me as I said them out loud. Daniel's head snapped up, his eyes widening. Lily told you. Of course she did, I snapped. She's been protecting you while you hid the truth from me. Do you realize what that's done to her? To me. To us. His face crumpled, but I didn't care. My anger was boiling now, flooding every vein. You had 15 years to tell me, I said, standing so fast my chair scraped against the floor. 15 years to be honest. And instead, you chose secrets. You chose lies. You chose her. Daniel reached for my hand, but I pulled away. I chose both of you, he said desperately. I thought I could keep you safe from it, from the past. But it caught up with me. With us. I stared at him, my chest heaving. Safe? You think lying kept us safe? All you did was destroy the one thing that made us a family trust. He had no answer. The silence between us was louder than any scream. Upstairs, I heard a creak. Lily listening. My heart broke all over again. I turned back to Daniel, my voice low, final. This marriage can survive a lot, but it cannot survive secrets like this. You've already made your choice. Now I have to make mine. His face drained of color. Emily, please. But I walked away, my steps shaking but steady, leaving him in the kitchen with his lies. As I climbed the stairs, Lily was waiting, her eyes wide with fear. Mom, she whispered. I pulled her into my arms, my voice breaking. We're going to be okay, sweetheart. But things are going to change. Because they had to. The morning after my confrontation with Daniel, the air in the house felt different. Heavy. Every corner seemed to hold the echoes of words I wished I could unhear. I barely slept, replaying his confession over and over. 15 years of lies. 15 years of him looking me in the eye while hiding an entire daughter. When I finally came downstairs, Daniel was already at the table, his coffee untouched. He looked like he hadn't slept either. His eyes followed me as I poured my own cup, but I couldn't bring myself to look at him. Emily, he said softly, we need to talk. The sound of his voice made my stomach twist. I think you've said enough. Please, just hear me out. For Lily's sake. The mention of Lily's name cut through me. He always knew which thread to pull. I sat down across from him, clutching my mug like it was the only thing keeping me grounded. He took a shaky breath. I didn't mean for it to go this way. When Anna showed up, I thought it would be temporary. She just needed some support, and I thought I could help her without it affecting us. I know I should have told you. You think. I cut in, my voice sharper than I intended. You didn't just keep her a secret. You dragged Lily into it. You made our daughter carry your lie. His face crumpled. I know. And that's the part one regret most. I never wanted to put her in that position. But Emily, he hesitated, his voice dropping. Anna's not just some kid showing up out of nowhere. She's in danger. The word sent a jolt through me. Danger? What are you talking about? Daniel rubbed his face, looking exhausted. Her mother, she got into some bad situations. People who aren't safe. Anna came to me because she had nowhere else to go. If I didn't help her, she would have been on the streets. She begged me not to tell anyone, not even you, because she thought you'd see her as a threat. I was trying to protect her. My heart pounded. This was no longer just betrayal. This was bigger, darker. So you lied to protect her, and what? Expected me to be okay when I eventually found out. He leaned forward, desperation in his eyes. I was buying time. I thought if I could get her on her feet, get her safe, then maybe I could explain. But she's in deeper trouble than I realized. People are looking for her, Emily. I pushed back my chair, the legs scraping loudly against the floor. And now those people know she's connected to you. To us. You didn't just break my trust, Daniel. You put this family in danger. Before he could respond, footsteps sounded on the stairs. Lily appeared in the doorway, pale and wide-eyed. I heard, she whispered. They're after Anna. Daniel closed his eyes, as if her voice was another wound. Lily, I'm so sorry. I should have kept you out of this. But Lily shook her head. No. I need to know. If they're after her, then they're after us too, aren't they? The silence that followed was answer enough. I felt my chest tighten as the reality sank in. My marriage was crumbling, my daughter was terrified, and now a girl I had never even met was dragging us into something that could destroy everything. I turned to Daniel, my voice shaking. You need to make a choice. Right now. You can't keep straddling both worlds. You can't keep feeding me lies while running to her every night. You either bring everything into the open, all of it, or we're done. For a moment, he just stared at me, his jaw working, like he wanted to argue. But then he nodded, slow and heavy, like the weight of his secrets had finally broken him. You're right, he whispered. You deserve the truth. And Anna deserves to be safe. Tonight you'll meet her. My stomach dropped. The thought of facing the girl, the living proof of his betrayal, made my skin prickle. But there was no turning back. Fine, I said, my voice firm, even though my hands were trembling. But if there are more lies, Daniel, if there's anything else you've kept from me, we won't survive it. He nodded again, but his eyes told me there was more. So much more. And for the first time, I wasn't sure I wanted to know. The hours crawled by until evening, each tick of the clock pressing down on me like a weight I couldn't shake off. My hands trembled as I folded laundry, as I stirred dinner, as I tried to pretend that life was still normal. But nothing was normal anymore. Tonight, I would meet her. The girl who lived in the shadows of my marriage. The girl who carried my husband's eyes and blood, yet was a stranger to me. When Daniel finally came home, his face was pale, his lips pressed tight. She's waiting outside, he said quietly. In the car. I wiped my hands on a dish towel, my chest tight, my heart hammering against my ribs. Lily hovered in the hallway, clutching the banister like it was the only thing keeping her steady. I walked out the front door with Daniel at my side. The air was cool, the street quiet, but the moment felt deafening. When the car door opened, my breath caught. She stepped out slowly, hesitantly. A girl no older than 15. She had long dark hair that fell in waves around her shoulders, and eyes that stopped me cold, the same hazel green that Daniel had, the same shape as Lily's. It was like looking at a reflection I hadn't agreed to see. Emily, Daniel said softly, this is Anna. Her name hit me, like glass shattering in my chest. Anna looked down at her shoes, her hands fidgeting nervously. Hi, she whispered. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. My body felt frozen, as if every muscle was fighting to keep me standing upright. My mind screamed with questions, accusations, rage. But when I finally opened my mouth, the only words that came out were, "Why now?" Anna's eyes flickered up to mine, watery and uncertain. Because I don't have anywhere else to go. The fragility in her voice knocked the air out of me. She wasn't some villain who had schemed her way into my life. She was just a child, my husband's child, caught in a storm she didn't ask for. Daniel stepped closer, his hand brushing my arm, but I pulled away. You should have told me, I whispered, my voice breaking. You should have trusted me with this years ago. Anna flinched at my tone, her face paling. Guilt rushed through me, colliding with the anger that had been building for days. She wasn't the one who lied to me. Daniel was. Yet she was the one standing here, trembling, looking at me like she feared I'd send her away. "Where's your mother?" I asked finally, her lips pressed together. She hesitated, glancing at Daniel as if asking for permission. He gave a small nod. "She's gone," Anna said quietly. "She left, and the people she was with are bad. They're looking for me." The pieces started clicking together. The late nights, the constant secrecy, the fear in Daniel's voice when he said she was in danger. My fury didn't fade, but something colder replaced it dread. "You brought her here," I said slowly, staring at Daniel. "Knowing all of this, knowing what kind of risk you were dragging into our lives." Daniel's jaw tightened. "She's my daughter. I couldn't abandon her." "And what about our daughter?" My voice cracked. I turned to where Lily stood in the doorway, watching everything unfold with wide, tearful eyes. "What about her safety? Her life?" The silence was suffocating. Daniel had no answer. I looked at Anna again and my heart twisted. She was trembling, her arms wrapped around herself, her eyes wet with tears she was fighting to hold back. She didn't ask to be born into this. She didn't ask for her father to lie, or her mother to disappear, or for me to hate the sight of her just because she existed. I closed my eyes, my throat burning. When I opened them again, I looked at Daniel and said, "She can stay for tonight. But after that, we need answers. Real answers. No more secrets." Daniel's shoulders sagged with relief, but I raised a hand, stopping him. "Don't mistake this for forgiveness. You've broken something in me, Daniel. And I don't know if it can ever be put back together." He nodded silently, his face pale, his eyes wet. That night, I gave Anna a blanket and set her up on the couch. As I walked upstairs, I could feel Lily's hand slip into mine, small and trembling. "Mom," she whispered, "what's going to happen to us?" I squeezed her hand, my own voice shaking. "I don't know, sweetheart. I really don't know." But deep inside, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. My life would never be the same again. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the house made me jump. Every car that passed sent my heart racing. Downstairs, Anna lay curled on the couch under the blanket I had given her. I stood at the top of the stairs more than once, just staring into the darkened living room, watching her chest rise and fall. She looked so young, so fragile. And yet, she was the reason my marriage was unraveling, the reason fear had slipped into the cracks of our home. By morning, I was running on nothing but coffee and nerves. Lily refused to leave my side, her wide eyes following me everywhere. She hadn't spoken much since Anna's arrival, but her silence said enough. Her world was shattering, too. Daniel was in the kitchen, pacing back and forth, his phone in his hand. He had been trying to reach someone since dawn, but each time I asked who, he brushed me off. Finally, I snapped. "Stop pacing and tell me the truth, Daniel. Who's after her?" He froze, his jaw tight, his eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep. "They're people her mother got involved with. Criminals. Drugs, money. I don't even know the full extent. But they know about Anna, and they won't stop until they find her." I felt the blood drain from my face. "And you brought her here? To our house? With our daughter under the same roof?" Before he could answer, a sharp knock rattled the front door. My stomach dropped. It wasn't the gentle kind of knock you expect from a neighbor or delivery man. It was heavy, demanding. Daniel's face went pale. He motioned quickly for us to stay quiet. "Go upstairs. Both of you," he whispered. But I didn't move. My body was frozen, my heart pounding in my ears. The knock came again, louder this time. From the living room, Anna sat up suddenly, her face ghost white. She whispered one word that made my blood run cold. "They found me." Before I could react, the door handle jiggled. Daniel rushed forward, pressing his hand against the wood like he could hold it shut. "Emily, take Lily. Go upstairs. Now." "No," I whispered, shaking my head, my voice trembling. "I'm not leaving you." The pounding started, each thud against the door making the walls vibrate. I grabbed Lily's hand, pulling her toward the stairs, but she resisted. "Mom, no. We can't leave Anna." Anna's eyes were brimming with tears, her whole body shaking. Upstairs. Daniel barked, his voice low and fierce. But before we could move, a voice outside growled through the wood. Open the door, Daniel. We know she's in there. My blood turned to ice. Daniel's chest rose and fell quickly as he looked back at me. Go, he mouthed. But I couldn't. I couldn't abandon him, couldn't abandon Anna, no matter how broken I felt inside. I tightened my grip on Lily's hand, my voice trembling but firm. We stay together. Daniel's eyes flashed with panic, but there was no more time to argue. The pounding grew violent, splintering the wood. The lock rattled under the pressure. And I realized with a sinking horror, the secrets Daniel had kept from me weren't just about betrayal. They were about survival. And survival meant that tonight, we might not all make it out alive. The door gave way with a crack that echoed through the house. Wood splintered, the lock breaking under the force of the men outside. Daniel shoved his shoulder against it, trying to buy us seconds, but seconds weren't enough. I pulled Lily behind me, my arms spread as if I could shield her with my body alone. Anna stood frozen in the middle of the room, her wide eyes locked on the door like she was watching her worst nightmare come alive. Run! Daniel shouted. His voice was ragged, desperate. But my feet wouldn't move. My instinct wasn't to run, it was to fight for my daughter. The door burst open, and 2 men stormed inside. They were rough-looking, their faces hard, their movements sharp. One was tall with a shaved head, the other shorter but thick with muscle. Both carried the kind of presence that filled the room with danger. The taller one sneered when he saw Anna. There you are. Little runaway. Anna whimpered, stepping back until her legs hit the couch. Please, she whispered. Don't. Daniel pushed forward, his voice shaking but strong. You're not taking her. The shorter man laughed darkly. She doesn't belong to you. You had your fun playing daddy, but she owes us. And we collect what's ours. My skin crawled. My voice came out before I even realized it. She's a child. Leave her alone. Both men looked at me then, their eyes narrowing. For a moment, the silence felt lethal. Then the tall one smirked. Cute family. Shame if something happened to them. He stepped closer, and I instinctively grabbed the fireplace poker from its stand. My hands were trembling, but I raised it anyway, planting myself between them and my girls. Touch her and I swear I'll put this through your skull, I said, my voice low and trembling but real. The room stilled. Even Daniel's breath hitched. I wasn't just a betrayed wife anymore. I was a mother with nothing left to lose. The men exchanged a glance, and the shorter one snorted. You've got guts, lady. But guts don't stop bullets. He reached inside his jacket, and my blood turned to ice. Daniel lunged, grabbing the man's arm before he could draw. They struggled, crashing into the dining table, chairs toppling over. The taller man moved toward Anna, and I swung the poker with all the force I had. The sound of metal striking his arm made him curse, and he stumbled back, eyes blazing. Run, Anna! I screamed. Anna bolted toward the stairs, Lily right behind her, both of them crying. My chest heaved as I faced the man again, the poker raised like a sword. My arms ached, my whole body shaking, but I didn't lower it. Daniel managed to wrestle the shorter man to the ground, but he was losing, his strength slipping. The taller one came at me again, grabbing for the poker. I held on with every ounce of strength I had, my teeth gritted, my heart pounding like a war drum. And in that moment, I realized something I never thought I would. The lies, the betrayal, the heartbreak, it didn't matter. Because when danger came to my door, I would fight for my daughter. For both girls, even if it killed me. The man's face was inches from mine, his breath hot and rancid. You should have stayed out of this, he growled. But I stared him down, my voice steady despite the terror ripping through me. This is my family, and I will never stay out of it. And with one last surge of strength, I swung. The house exploded into chaos, and I knew nothing would ever be the same again. The clash of bodies and the crash of furniture blurred into a storm of noise around me. My arms burned as I swung the poker again, the metal connecting with the man's shoulder. He howled in rage, grabbing me by the wrist, twisting until pain shot through me like fire. I screamed, dropping the poker. His grip tightened, dragging me closer, his teeth clenched. You think you're strong. You think you can stop us. Behind us, Daniel and the other man wrestled across the floor, grunting, fists pounding into flesh. Daniel's face was bloodied, his shirt ripped, but he didn't stop. He was fighting with something primal, desperate. Upstairs, I heard Anna and Lily crying, their footsteps pounding as they slammed a door shut. My heart seized. If these men got past us, they would go after the girls. Rage flooded through me, stronger than fear. I drove my knee into the man's stomach. He grunted, loosening his grip just enough for me to shove him back. I grabbed the poker again, raising it high. "Get out of my house!" I screamed, the sound tearing from my throat. The man's eyes widened for a moment, maybe surprised that I wasn't backing down. But then his expression hardened. He lunged at me again, and in that instant, Daniel shouted, "Emily, move!" I stumbled sideways, just as Daniel tackled the man, slamming him into the wall. The drywall cracked with the force. The shorter thug tried to rise, but I swung the poker into his ribs with everything I had. He collapsed with a groan, clutching his side. The taller one shoved Daniel off, pulling something from his waistband. The glint of a gun made my blood run cold. "No!" I cried, raising the poker like it could stop a bullet. He aimed it at me, his eyes dark with fury. "Enough games!" Before I could even breathe, a sound split the room, a siren, loud and piercing, growing closer. Blue and red lights flashed through the window. The man cursed under his breath. Daniel staggered to his feet, blood dripping from his nose. "The neighbors must have called," he panted. The men exchanged a look. The shorter one grabbed the taller's arm. "We don't have time. Let's go." For a heartbeat, the taller one kept the gun trained on me. My heart thudded, so hard I thought it might burst. Then he lowered it, shoving Daniel aside with a snarl. "This isn't over," he spat. "She still belongs to us." His eyes flicked toward the stairs, toward Anna. And then they were gone, slamming out the broken door, just as the flashing lights filled the driveway. I collapsed to the floor, the poker clattering from my hands. My chest heaved, tears streaming down my face, not from relief but from the terrifying truth in his words. Daniel crouched beside me, his hand trembling as it touched my arm. "Emily, are you okay?" I shoved him away, my voice raw. Don't you dare. Because this wasn't over. Not with those men still out there. Not with Anna still in danger. And not with the chasm of lies between us. The police burst in, shouting, but all I could hear were Lily's sobs as she and Anna crept down the stairs, their faces pale, their eyes wide. I pulled them both into my arms, holding them so tight it hurt. My heart was still racing, my mind spinning, but one thought cut through the chaos as clear as glass. I had fought for them tonight, and I would keep fighting, but this war had only just begun. The flashing red and blue lights painted my living room in violent colors. Officers moved quickly through the house, weapons drawn, checking corners as if the intruders might still be hiding in the shadows. The broken door hung half off its hinges, splintered wood scattered across the floor like bones. I sat on the couch, holding Lily and Anna against me, both girls shaking uncontrollably. My arms ached, my head throbbed, but I wouldn't let go. Not yet. An officer knelt in front of me, his expression gentler than I expected. "Ma'am, are you hurt?" I shook my head. My voice wouldn't work, not yet. Daniel sat across the room, a cloth pressed to his bleeding nose. His eyes kept flicking toward me, searching for connection, for forgiveness for something. But I refused to meet his gaze. Not after everything. "They tried to take her." I finally managed, my voice hoarse. I nodded toward Anna. "They wanted her." The officer's eyes narrowed, and he glanced at Daniel. "Why? What's going on here?" Daniel opened his mouth, but I cut him off, the words spilling out of me before I could stop. "Because she's his daughter. His secret daughter. And apparently, she's being hunted by criminals her mother got involved with. That's why." The room went quiet. Even the officers exchanged glances, their brows furrowed. Daniel buried his face in his hands. The officer straightened, his voice firm. "We'll need a full statement from both of you." "And the girl." Anna flinched at his words, clinging tighter to me. I could feel her trembling against my side, her breath shallow. She was terrified, and in that moment, I knew she was just as much a victim as the rest of us. When the officer stepped outside to make calls, Daniel finally looked at me. His voice cracked. "Emily, I never wanted this for us. I never wanted it to touch you or Lily." I stared at him, anger rising all over again. "But it has. You let it. You lied until the lies swallowed us whole. And now look at where we are. Our daughter hiding behind me, scared out of her mind. Our house broken into. Our lives shattered. All because you couldn't tell me the truth." His face crumpled, but I didn't let myself soften. Not this time. The door creaked, and an officer returned, his tone brisk. "We'll need to move Anna into protective custody. If what you've said is true, she's not safe here. None of you are." Anna's head snapped up, panic flooding her eyes. "No. Please, don't take me. I can't, I don't want to go." She clutched at me, her nails digging into my arm. My heart twisted, torn in two directions. I wanted her gone, wanted the nightmare to walk out my front door and never come back. But when I looked at her tear-streaked face, the way she held on to me like I was the only anchor she had left, I couldn't bring myself to push her away. I looked at the officer. "She stays with me." Daniel's head jerked up, surprise flashing across his face. "Emily." I cut him off. "If anyone's going to protect her, it's going to be me. Not you. You've done enough damage." The officer hesitated, then finally nodded. "We'll assign a unit to keep watch on the house. But ma'am, this is dangerous. You're taking on a lot." I glanced at Anna, then at Lily, who was still trembling against my side. My chest felt heavy, but my voice came out steady. "I don't care. She's family, whether I like it or not. And I'm done running from the truth." The officer left again, and silence fell. Daniel stared at me, his mouth opening like he wanted to argue, but he didn't. He just looked small, defeated. I pulled the girls closer, my mind already racing. I had no idea how I was going to keep them safe, no idea what was coming next. But I knew one thing with absolute clarity. Daniel's lies had brought this danger to my door. But from now on, I was the one in control. And I would burn the world down before I let anyone take my daughters from me. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the masked men breaking through the door, heard Anna's terrified cries, and felt Lily's tiny body shaking in my arms. My house felt less like a home and more like a crime scene. The broken door had been boarded up, the police cruiser still idled outside, but nothing could make me feel safe. Anna curled up on the couch beside me, her little hands gripping mine like she was afraid I'd disappear if she let go. Lily had finally drifted off in my lap, her hair damp with sweat from crying. I kept my arms around both of them, even as exhaustion gnawed at me. Daniel sat at the dining table, his face lit by the glow of his phone. He hadn't said much since the police left, but I knew he was texting someone. Maybe the officer who'd taken our statements. Maybe someone else. I didn't ask. I didn't trust him enough to ask. By morning, I'd made a decision. I wasn't waiting for answers to fall in my lap. If Daniel's lies had dragged danger into my home, then I was going to uncover the truth myself. When the officer assigned to us stopped by to check in, I pulled him aside. "I need to know everything you know about Anna's mother. Every name, every place, every connection. Please." He hesitated, glancing back at the girls. "That information is sensitive. It's part of an ongoing case." "I don't care," I snapped, surprising even myself with the sharpness in my voice. "You expect me to protect her, but you won't tell me what I'm protecting her from? I can't do this blind. You want my cooperation, you tell me the truth." After a long silence, he exhaled, lowering his voice. Her mother was involved with a trafficking ring. Small scale at first, but dangerous people. She owed them money, made promises she couldn't keep. When she died, those people assumed her debt passed to Anna. They think the girl is leverage. That's why they came here. The words hit me like ice water. Trafficking ring. Leverage. My stomach turned. Anna wasn't just a child with a troubled past. She was the target of monsters. I glanced back at her. She was sitting on the rug, braiding Lily's hair with careful fingers, trying to pretend life was normal. My throat tightened. How could anyone look at her and see leverage? The officer leaned closer. "Your husband's been in contact with them before. That's what we're trying to confirm." My breath caught. "What?" He studied my face, as if gauging how much I knew. "If he's been paying them off, keeping them quiet, it could explain why they found you so quickly." I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. Daniel, the man I'd built my life with, the man who swore he was trying to keep us safe. Was he working with them all along? I forced myself to stay calm. Don't tell him you told me. Please. The officer gave a curt nod and left me with the weight of the truth. That night, when Daniel finally sat down beside me, his eyes hollow, I asked the question I'd been holding back. How did they know about her? How did they find our house? He flinched, just slightly but enough. I whispered, "It was you, wasn't it? You've been dealing with them." His hands clenched into fists, his jaw tight. "Emily, you don't understand. If I hadn't—" I cut him off, my voice shaking. Don't tell me it was to protect us. Don't tell me the lies you've been feeding me since the day she walked into our home." For the first time, he didn't argue. He just buried his face in his hands. I looked over at Anna and Lily, both asleep on the couch, tangled together like sisters who had known each other forever. I felt something harden inside me. If Daniel was tangled up in this, then he wasn't my ally anymore. He was part of the threat. And if the police couldn't keep us safe, then I'd do whatever it took myself. Because they weren't just children in my care. They were my daughters. Both of them. And I would fight for them, even if it meant standing against the man I once loved. The house had never felt so quiet, and yet every creak of the floorboards, every shift of the wind outside, made my skin prickle with dread. I sat in the dark living room, staring at Daniel's silhouette as he sat hunched over the kitchen table. His phone was in front of him, screen glowing faintly, his fingers drumming nervously against the wood. I couldn't stop hearing the officer's words. He's been in contact with them. Every time I replayed it, another piece of the puzzle clicked into place. The late-night calls, the unexplained absences, the way he flinched when Anna's name came up. I rose quietly and stepped closer. "Who are you texting?" Daniel jumped, fumbling to flip his phone over. "Work. It's work, Emily. Go back to bed." I didn't move. "Don't lie to me again." He lifted his head, and the look in his eyes was one I hadn't seen before. Not guilt, not sorrow, resignation. "You think I wanted this?" His voice was low, jagged. "You think I chose for them to come after us? I was trying to keep them away, Emily. I've been paying them off for years." My stomach lurched. "Years? God, Daniel, how many lies have you told me? You said you barely knew her mother." He slammed his fist onto the table, making me flinch. I had no choice. She was drowning in debt, and when she died, they came for Anna. They said if I didn't pay, they'd take her. I couldn't let that happen. I stared at him, horror sinking deeper. "So you brought her here, into our house, into Lily's life, knowing they'd never stop coming. You didn't save her, Daniel. You painted a target on all of us." His face twisted, torn between rage and despair. "I was trying to protect you." A bitter laugh escaped me. "By lying until we're all trapped in your mess? That's not protection. That's betrayal." Before he could answer, a sound shattered the fragile silence. A soft thud against the boarded door. Then another. And another. I froze. Daniel's eyes widened. "They're here." Panic surged through me, but I didn't waste a second. I ran to the couch, shaking Lily and Anna awake. "Up. Both of you, come with me now." Their groggy confusion turned to fear as the pounding grew louder, more insistent. Anna's small hands clutched at me, her voice trembling. "It's them, isn't it?" I swallowed my terror, forcing calm into my voice. "Stay behind me." The boards cracked, splintering under the force. Daniel moved toward the door, his fists clenched, but I grabbed his arm. "Don't you dare open it." Not this time. The crash came like thunder. The door gave way, shards of wood flying as 3 men stormed inside, faces hidden behind masks. One of them barked, the girl. "Give us the girl, and nobody else gets hurt." Anna whimpered, pressing herself into my side. My pulse hammered, so hard I thought I'd pass out. But something inside me snapped, a steel I didn't know I had. "You'll take her over my dead body," I hissed. The man stepped forward, knife glinting in the dim light. "That can be arranged." Before I could move, Daniel lunged, tackling him to the ground. They struggled violently, the knife flashing between them. The other 2 men advanced on me and the girls, and instinct took over. I grabbed the heavy lamp from the table and swung it with everything I had, the crash of glass exploding in the air as it connected with one of their faces. He fell back with a scream. The second man grabbed me by the arm, yanking me forward, But Anna did something I never expected. She sank her teeth into his hand, hard enough that he howled and let go. "Run!" I screamed to the girls. They darted toward the back door, just as police sirens wailed outside, the sound cutting through the chaos. The men hesitated, their eyes flicking toward the flashing lights spilling through the windows. One cursed and pulled the other toward the door. The man fighting Daniel shoved him off and bolted after them, disappearing into the night. Daniel collapsed onto the floor, gasping for breath, blood smeared across his shirt. The house was in ruins, glass and splinters everywhere, the air heavy with smoke from the shattered lamp. The front door burst open again, this time with officers storming inside, guns raised, shouting commands. I stood in the middle of the wreckage, clutching Anna and Lily, my chest heaving. And for the first time, I realized something with terrifying clarity. Daniel wasn't just part of this mess. He was the reason it had reached us at all. And now, with the police watching, I would have to decide whether to keep standing by him or finally tell them everything. The living room was chaos, shattered glass glittering like ice across the floor, the boards of the door hanging in jagged pieces, Daniel bleeding on the rug, and officers shouting orders as they swept the house. But all I could feel was Lily's tiny heartbeat pounding against my chest, Anna's trembling fingers clutching my arm like she thought I might vanish if she let go. An officer approached, steady but urgent. "Ma'am, we need to separate everyone and take statements." I nodded numbly, but my eyes stayed locked on Daniel. He was sitting against the wall, clutching his side where blood seeped through his shirt. His eyes found mine, pleading. "Emily, please, don't let them take me. I did this for us. For us." Those two words twisted in my gut. I thought of the years of lies, of Anna being dragged into our lives like a secret dropped on my doorstep, of masked men breaking into my home. I thought of the officer's warning, that Daniel had been dealing with them, feeding the wolves, trying to buy peace with blood money. And I thought of Lily, my sweet little girl who had clung to me in terror, my innocent daughter who had almost been caught in the crossfire of Daniel's sins. I rose slowly, pulling Anna and Lily with me, and turned to the officers. My voice shook, but the decision was clear. You need to know the truth. Daniel's been in contact with them. He's been paying them. That's how they found us. The room went still. Daniel's face went pale, his mouth opening like he wanted to protest. But no words came out. The officer's jaw tightened. "Sir, you're under arrest. Stand up, hands where I can see them." "No!" Daniel gasped, pushing himself to his feet. He looked at me like a man drowning, desperate for someone to throw him a rope. "Emily, don't do this. I was protecting you. Protecting them." His gaze flicked toward the girls. I couldn't let those men win. Tears stung my eyes, but I didn't waver. "You already let them win, Daniel. Every lie you told them gave them power over us. Every secret made us weaker. You didn't protect us, you endangered us." He staggered forward, but the officers closed in, grabbing his arms, snapping handcuffs around his wrists. He didn't resist. He just looked at me, his expression hollow. "Emily!" His voice was broken, almost childlike. "Don't let Lily hate me." I swallowed hard, clutching her tighter. "That's not up to me anymore." The officers led him out into the flashing lights, and just like that, the man I'd built my life around was gone. The house felt emptier than ever, but also strangely lighter. When the chaos finally calmed, another officer knelt beside me. "We'll move you and the girls to a safe location until this is resolved. The men who broke in are part of a larger ring. We'll need your testimony to bring them down." I nodded, stroking Anna's hair as she leaned into me. "We'll do whatever it takes." As we stepped outside into the night, the air cold against my skin, I glanced down at Anna and Lily. They looked so small, so fragile, their hands locked together. Sisters, not by blood, but by bond. Both mine now, in every way that mattered. And in that moment, I made a promise to myself. I would raise them with honesty, with strength, with love that could not be bought or broken. Daniel's lies had almost destroyed us, but his ending was not going to be ours. We were survivors, and together we would start again.